And there is a little secret I know about Armin that we're going to reveal right now. Because I heard you're a big fan of Guitar Hero.
Oh yes, I play guitar.
And he's not only a fan, he's an active Guitar Hero practitioner. And I'm challenging you to do a little search on YouTube and show me what you found during lunch. I think it's going to be rather interesting. Okay. But let's move back to HR and Agile and the future of recruitment. What are going to be the key takeaways of your story for the audience today, you think?
The key takeaway will be that we have to entirely rethink HR. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds rather shocking, so I'll sit and listen then.
Okay, so thank you.
Armin Trost.
Okay. So, if you have seen the presentation from Max, you have seen nice pictures from a city called Tübingen. This actually is my hometown, where I grew up. And in Tübingen, it's 40 kilometers south from Stuttgart. And in Stuttgart, there are brands like Daimler, Bosch, Porsche, and some others. And when I grew up, I was told that when you make it to work at Daimler, you're going to be safe for the rest of your life. And not only you, but also your children and your grandchildren. The market was stable. The market was endless. Cars have been cars. This was really, really safe. And today, we don't think that way anymore. Will Volkswagen still exist in 5 years? We don't know. What will Bosch do in 10 years? So, what we face in many businesses, a huge increase of complexity, dynamic uncertainty, disruptive technologies, Generation Y, globalization, and, global warming. So things become less predictable, uncertain, complex, and this is what many companies really worries in a daily basis. And this is not only on a big scale, it's also on a small scale when we look at work, the nature of work. Of course, we have tasks where we have where we have high certainty of outcome, high certainty of process. People know what the outcome will be. People know how to get there. Housekeeping, for instance. Bus driver, who know I have to drive from A to B. So these are jobs where work is absolutely clear. But what we have in the future is much more work like this, where you don't know what will be the outcome be, what is the way how to get there. And we have projects. And there is work somewhere in the middle. We can assume that all those jobs on the right, on the left-hand bottom side will disappear and will be substituted by smart technologies, robotics, artificial intelligence, all the nice things we hear on this conference. So what is left is work with a lot of complexity, uncertainty, dynamic. This is what people do in their daily work. So since we have accepted this, more or less, we understood that people have high relevance. People, who else? And because we believe in this, we have invested a lot in HR. We came up with talent management, talent relationship management, change management, health management, demographic management, and all these nice things. And so, I mean, when we compare HR today with HR 20 years ago, there have been a lot of advancements, no doubt about it. But at the same time, we see that the power and acceptance of the HR function constantly decreased. So, a question is, why is this the case? And how will the future look like here? And what I show you in my presentation is a kind of, let's say, a playing field. And every company has to make a choice where to play. Really. When I talk to a CEO about HR, this is the first picture I show, and I ask, Which game do you want to play? And one option, of course, is to have something I would name basic HR. Or you can also name it hire and pay. You hire the people, you compensate the people, full stop. And you do not any HR. No training, no talent management, no employer branding, nothing. I mean, that's fine. You can do it that way. No talent management. The cream always comes to the top, naturally. You cannot avoid people from learning. They learn, whether you have HR or not. Yeah? So, no HR. Could work. And I see a lot of companies that do it that way. But the point is that in the last few years, many companies moved from the left-hand side more and more to the right-hand side. Having processes, having tools, having systems, having programs, having KPIs, having an organization, have HR professionals, doing something, not leaving things to chance. But what we did is we moved to the top right-hand side. Most companies, probably 90% of all companies, moved to that area, which is central planning and controlling. I would like to show you what that means. I mean, you all know this. The right people in the right place at the right time. This is exactly hierarchical, traditional HR. I would say, if you follow this, you probably will be on the wrong path in the future. This is very much focused on demand. This is the idea of my company is a big machine, and in this big machine there are different components, there are different positions, and on each position I have clear requirements, and HR is to fill these positions. And when all the components are right, if they all fit, then my machine will work for the rest of forever. But unfortunately, this might not be the answer for the future. Now, I would like to show you what that means. Classic hierarchical HR. So here is a hierarchy, okay? And we have competence model, of course, where we describe different competencies. To make this work, we have behaviorally anchored rating scales. We have a job architecture, where we have defined all the different jobs in our company. We build job profiles based on this. For each and every job, competency profiles. This is what we name competence management. So when we do this, we can create job descriptions. We also can use these things to assign them to all positions in our organization, so that every position in my organization has a clear job profile. Then recruiting comes up. So we have job ads, and with the job ads, we recruit people. So we fill the positions with people. And the people, on their side, they have their own profiles. And then they fit or they don't fit. Okay? So overall, we have a strategy. And because we have a strategy, we do something like strategic workforce planning. Thinking about, okay, if this is the strategy, what kind of people do we need in the next 5 to 10 years? And to make the strategy work, we translate the strategy into different layers, using the balanced scorecard maybe. But to make this work, we have to have something like a performance appraisal, where every manager, with every employee, does an annual talk about past performance and future objectives. You write things down in a form into a system. And at least one outcome of performance appraisal are individual development plans, but this is only one part. Having this on the table, we go for the next step and we do talent reviews. We find out who are the most potential, best performing people in our organization. We pick them out. We do a 360-degree feedback to better understand the strengths and weaknesses of our high potentials. We put them on predefined career path. And when we do this, on the long run, we are able to do something like succession planning, knowing who is mature to fill which position in the future. Of course, we support all this with our HR information system, which is great because with our HR information system, we can also pull some regular KPIs. And this goes on and on and on. Okay? I mean, look at this slide. It took me half a day to prepare this slide. Yeah? But this is just a part of HR. No compensation is on this. No learning, retention. It's just one part. And this is a very simplified picture of HR as you find it in many, many organizations. And this is scary. This is really scary. This is the machine. This is the machine. This is hierarchical. This is static. And probably this complicatedness which we have created over the past decades in HR is not what we need to cope with the complexity and the uncertainty and the dynamic which we currently face and which we will face in the future. So, to me, I'm an HR professor, and I spent my whole work on this one question. How must HR look like in times of digitization? And what you find here is definitely not the answer. I see so many companies that get rid of performance appraisal. Yeah? Especially the most innovative ones. And. So they change talent management. They change their compensation strategies because of the changing nature of business, digitization, and so on. So, let me tell you how it looks like. This is the question that people have. I want a meaningful job that fit to me in my life. This is not the question, the right people in the right place at the right time. This is HR question. But the people, they don't have this question. They have this question. As we already have learned today, the people, they ask, okay, what is the next opportunity? Whom should I meet? From whom can I learn what? Where do I get this information? What is my next project? How can I contribute with my competencies to what in this company? What will be my future? These are the questions the people have. And these questions very often are different from the questions HR have. The right people in the right place at the right time. So, I think that in the future HR will be more in that area, people-centric enablement. It's about enabling people to do what matters to them. Of course, as part of being part of the entire organization, of course. I would like to talk about this in the last minutes, in the last half of my presentation. And I think there are three things: diversity, power, and consequences. These are the three things which characterize future HR in my eyes. Maybe I'm wrong, but these are some ideas, some guidance. So let's start talking about diversity. You all know this movie, Toy Story, right? And the creator of Toy Story was John Allen Lasseter, this guy. John Allen Lasseter worked at Disney. And he fought hard to do something in the area of animated movies. He was a crazy guy, very innovative. He really thought out of the box. And as a result, Disney fired him. He kicked him out. So he met Steve Jobs. Then he worked with Pixar and created all these great movies which we know. Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and so on. The executive search people in the room. I mean, how many times have you heard, look for a crazy guy? Really. But we have to think more in this direction. I mean, classic HR looks like this. We have a box. clear competencies, clear job description. The person must demonstrate this and this, exactly this. Unfortunately, people are not like this. They are like this. And then HR comes across and say, okay, we have to train this guy and have to fill the gaps. And we focus on the gaps and we don't focus on the strength. And the last thing we do is we appreciate individuality, but this is what we have to do in the future. Yeah? What we need are a few crazy people. Look at what we have reached with the normal ones. So, diversity. This is diversity. Now you might say, no, this is not diversity. 2 men, similar outfit. But this is diversity because we have a technical champion and a business champion. And both together make up a strong team. Yeah? That's absolutely powerful. Diversity is not about bar charts. It's not about stats. It's not about pie charts. Diversity is something different. Diversity is appreciating individuality. This is the real point, appreciating individuality. I mean, my ultimate test for executive is always the question, would you hire her as the head of accounting? Would you hire her? If you say, yeah, what's the point? She's competent, that's fine. If you say, oh, no, better not, that's a different story. Okay? Diversity. This is one thing. The next thing is power. I mean, already this day, and I hear on every conference, on every HR meeting, I hear the following sentence. People are our most important asset. Wow. Yeah? And as we already learned today, we all agree. Yeah. Yeah. What does that mean? What are the consequences? The consequence of this sentence is that if people are the most important asset, then you trust them. Trust. You give them power. And I tell you why. I mean, in a classic organization, we have managers like this, much general knowledge, much expertise. This is the T concept. And the team around the manager or below the manager are like this. I know this looks like a graveyard, but that was not intended. Yeah. So when, as an employee, I had a question, I went to my manager, said, manager, should we go for A or B? And then the manager said, I don't know, B. I said, okay, B. The manager is there to answer all the questions. The manager are there to solve all the problems. And the task of the people is to do what the manager says. Full stop. I know this is extreme, but this is the old thinking. Today we have this. We have managers with much general knowledge, some rudimentary expertise, yeah, and the people are like this. So the employees, every employee has more expertise than the manager. And they have very different expertises. And together, diversity, they make up a strong team. So this leads us to a totally different thinking in leadership, in how we deal with people. Yeah? In the classic world, we had the boss. The boss. What is the boss? The boss has one question. The boss has one question. The question is, how can I make my people do what I want them to do? Motivate, coordinate, give direction, control. Yeah? This is what we have read in management literature for many decades. But studies show that this role of being a boss slowly disappears. Now we have different roles. We have roles that are much more built on trust. And what you see here is Niklas Luhmann, probably the most important sociologist in our times. And he did a lot of scientific research around trust. And if you want to summarize the outcome of his research in one sentence, then it's trust reduces complexity. Trust reduces complexity. It's great that we have trust, while mistrust increases complexity. You all know this from your daily life, maybe. If we take this seriously, we have a different kind of leadership. We have roles like partner. Okay, let's think together about the problem. Let's together think about where to go. Or the coach. Okay, John, A or B, what do you think? What is the risk with A? What is the risk with B? Whom should you ask to find out whether A or B? But you don't give the answer. Or enabler. What must I do as a manager so that you are able to make the right decisions? These are the leadership roles which we have in the future. If this is true, and there is a lot of scientific evidence that many organizations step by step move more to those roles, then we have to rethink HR. I'll give you just one example. I mean, my hero is Douglas MacGregor. Douglas MacGregor, he wrote the book, The Human Side of Enterprise, in 1960. And he said one sentence: the role of judge and the role of counselor are incompatible. In other words, a coach will never judge. So managers that coach will never do a performance review. It's not possible. If we in HR force our managers to do performance review with the form making you a check here on below expectation, and then this goes into the system, and then there are consequences, that turns a feedback into a judgment. And that can disturb the relationship between a manager and the employee. Managers who coach will never do performance appraisal, which is good. So we have to rethink our most commonly used method, like performance appraisal. This is just one thing. I could talk about many examples here. The next thing is consequences. A classic hierarchical organization works like this. There are decisions made on the top. And then the decisions are cascaded down to every single level, so that every employee knows what to do. And the sum of the individual work make up the product or the service that goes to the client. And through some feedback system, customer satisfaction survey or something, the feedback goes to top management, and then they make a decision. So this is the entire learning cycle, which obviously is very slow, and a lot of things get lost. I know this is extreme, but sometimes we have to look at extremes to better understand the difference between hierarchical settings and agile settings. Or to put it more simple, an employee, the small circle, is dedicated to the boss, and from the boss comes the direction. And there's somewhere else is the customer, but you don't have to care about the customer. Do what the boss tells you. This is vertical thinking, which we find in many organizations. Now, let's have a concrete example. Look at a garage. Look at a hospital. Look at a classroom. Look at everywhere people do their job. Those who make the decisions, sometimes people in the headquarters, managers, how much do they know about the consequences of their decisions? How much does a company like Daimler know about the consequences of what they decide in the garage, where the reality takes place? So, if you want to have an agile organization, make sure that the people feel, on every level, feel the consequences of their work by working with the customer. And this looks like this. The employee, the individual, is dedicated to the customer. And from the customer, he gets a feedback. And the manager is just there to make all this sure. Okay? So we have things like networking, job rotation, switching roles, managers who walk in the shoes of the workers for a couple of days. Yeah, mixed teams. We have a lot of things in agile organization where we encourage lateral thinking, not the vertical thinking. Everything we do in that direction is good to become agile. So overall, the future of HR will be about diversity, power, and consequences. Many thanks for your presence and listening. Thank you.
We have time for a couple of questions. Anybody with a specific question for Armin? Ooh, you've rolled them over. Oh, there's one. Could you take that one? Thank you. He's going to be there quicker than I am.
Hi. I just had a question from what you said. We would say that succession planning should be more based on the person occupying the role or the role itself, which is more traditional.
We know from the past succession planning has always been kind of static approach where we have the assumption that we can define a role and the role would exist that way in the future. And then we always try to find people that match to this role. In reality, we found that especially those roles on a strategic level, they very often they change. Yeah, if sometimes you just change the CEO and all the direct reports position change. And they don't look the same anymore. So planning into that direction is a hard thing that only works in a very stable, static environment. In some business it might work, but in dynamic environments it probably does not work. So the answer is have people prepared that can fill different roles. So we see this tendency also already in the last few years that you less focus on very concrete positions, do not prepare people for positions, but build kind of pools, yeah, which lead to much more flexibility. Yeah, I think this is the answer. Yeah.
One more question and then we're...
Hello, I have just a very small question. You have a very nice presentation, and you told that people are centric, but that you should put people in the center of everything. But what I lost in your presentation is what is the role of HR to put people in the center? You said what managers should do, but not what HR should do.
Yeah, this is a very good question. What is the role of HR in this game? Yeah. Enablement. Yeah. You build infrastructure, things like you deliver apps to your employees where they can network, where they can exchange knowledge. Yeah. Who else should do this? IT? I think this is a role of HR doing something like this. In recruiting, for instance, we see that the future in recruiting is very much about networking. Yeah, employee referral program is probably the most successful thing there. An employee referral program is something where the people in the line take over responsibility. You take their networks. So this is a very strong approach, something like this, instead of saying, okay, HR will take care that we fill the positions. You say, the line will take care to fill the position. But to enable them to do so, you have to have a program. You have to have rules, like an employee referral program. Who else should implement something like this, like HR, and enable people to do something like this? Yeah? Okay? That's 2 examples.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Armin Trost.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you.